Morning came quietly, washing over the city in soft golden light. In the modest home where Lu Sheng lived, the day began like any other. The scent of warm porridge filled the air, and the clatter of bowls echoed in the small kitchen. He sat at the table with his family, his mother gently smiling, his father quiet and reserved, and his younger sister Lu King, watching him closely. She tilted her head slightly, frowning as she observed her brother. There was something different about him today, something subtle, yet impossible to miss. He looked calm to calm. His aura had shifted, no longer the anxious, overthinking youth. Now, he radiated a strange tranquility, mysterious and composed, as if he had been through lifetimes of change in the span of a night. After the meal, Lu Sheng quietly excused himself and returned to his room. Moments later, his communicator lit up. It was a call from Instructor Zheng, his martial arts teacher. Without waiting for pleasantries, Lu Sheng answered in a flat, cold tone, simply said he had no time to waste on idle talk. Before the teacher could even reply, he ended the call. It wasn't arrogance. It was clarity. He no longer had time for distractions. The gap between the present and the future was too great, and he needed to close it fast. As night approached again, he re-entered the dreamscape, a realm that was no longer just a recurring nightmare, but a bridge between two timelines. This time, he had a purpose. He called out to the AI and posed a direct question. Is there any martial art that involves the Tao? AI responded instantly, processing trillions of data points before projecting a comprehensive display of information. The content expanded into the air around him, revealing ancient Taoist cultivation methods, obscure texts, energy channeling pathways, and spiritual visualization systems, wisdom far beyond his age and experience. Yet Lu Sheng remained composed. He wasn't interested in the inaccessible or impossible. He asked AI to filter techniques that were level 1, foundational, those that could be learned without requiring wealth, rare materials, or powerful lineage. In other words, things he could cultivate through effort and bodily discipline alone. The AI responded with precision. 3 techniques surfaced from the sea of knowledge: breathing technique, to regulate inner ki, circulate energy, and strengthen vitality; visual focus technique, a meditative method to visualize one's inner world and spiritual landscape; recovery technique, a passive form of self-healing that sped up physical and energy regeneration. They were simple, ancient, almost forgotten by the higher realms of cultivation in the future, but hidden beneath their simplicity was a power that could evolve. Each of them came with embedded data progression paths, level markers, and their maximum potential. All 3 had one surprising detail: they could be cultivated up to level 11. That was unheard of in his current era, where level 9 was considered the ceiling. Lu Sheng didn't hesitate. He dove into the practice, memorizing the breathing patterns, mimicking the visualizations, and learning the recovery cycles. Each technique had been encoded directly into his consciousness, provided through the advanced Neuralink interface that the AI established. When he practiced the visual technique, something unusual happened. He was pulled into an endless void, vast, silent cosmos, stretching into infinity. Floating in this dark universe, he saw himself, his body outlined in luminous ki, still and centered, surrounded by star-like specks of energy. It wasn't just a training realm, it felt divine. He realized then that these techniques were more than just physical. They aligned with Taoist philosophy, rooted in cosmic balance and inner harmony. They weren't meant for brute force, they were tools of spiritual awakening and long-term transformation. And when he awoke, he wasn't surprised anymore. As expected, his physical body had responded. His skin was coated in a layer of expelled from deep within his muscles and organs. Another round of internal cleansing. His ki had improved again. The dream realm was no longer a mystery. It was his second life. Now dressed and fresh, he began contemplating something bold. If he had access to 10,000 years of medical evolution, then the pharmacology of this age was like using stone tools. He thought about the herbs, tonics, and formulas he had seen in the archive, formulas that could reshape the human body, purge impurities, even extend lifespan. His thoughts wandered to the medical system of the present. It was inefficient, outdated, but what if he could create something from the future, using knowledge from that ruined world, and apply it in this one? It would change everything. From a powerless student in a struggling family, he was now on the path to revolutionizing medicine, reshaping martial arts, and rewriting the fate of humanity itself. 2 days of absence from school had stirred questions, especially from Instructor Zheng. When Lu Sheng finally returned, he was quickly intercepted. The teacher didn't hesitate to voice his concern. With a slightly raised tone, he reminded Lu, Shang to inform him directly next time he planned to disappear for multiple days. Though his words were strict, they carried genuine worry. He asked if Lu Sheng had been doing well these past 2 days. Lu Sheng, composed and calm, nodded and explained little, hiding the immense progress he had made during that time. Understanding that Lu Sheng had found some serious motivation, Zhang didn't press further. Instead, perhaps sensing the weight behind his silence, he handed Lu Sheng a sum of money, an unexpected gesture of support. Though modest in amount, it was enough to fund a small step forward. With that, Lu Sheng's thoughts raced. He was ready to begin translating the medicinal knowledge from the dream world into his own reality, with formulas and principles from 10,000 years into the future swirling in his mind. He only needed a place, a laboratory, to begin. He first tried visiting an old lab facility he'd heard of, one run by a reclusive elder known for strict standards. But when Lu Sheng arrived and knocked on the gate, he was promptly turned away. The door nearly slammed in his face. The old man had no patience for amateurs or students. Disheartened but not defeated, Lu Sheng wandered through a network of backstreets far from the city center. As he walked, thoughts of failure buzzed in his head like static. Then, by chance, his eyes caught something unusual, a building tucked between empty lots. Its faded signage, barely visible, a privately owned lab. Curious, he approached the entrance and stepped inside. The interior was cluttered and dimly lit. Behind the counter sat a young man, around Lu Sheng's age, completely disengaged. The boy was glued to his phone, grinning foolishly at a picture of a pretty girl on his screen. Oblivious to his surroundings, Lu Sheng stood still for a moment, unimpressed by the poor service. He cleared his throat. No response. Finally, with a sharper tone and an intimidating presence, he called out this time, making sure the boy knew he wasn't a random visitor. The energy shifted. The young man flinched, startled. Awkwardly, he put away his phone and muttered an unenthusiastic welcome. Lu Sheng didn't bother with pleasantries. He declared that he wasn't just here for a one-time visit, he intended to do business. Reluctantly, the boy explained the lab's basic rules and pricing model. It was a pay-per-hour facility with minimal supervision. Most renters used it for small-scale chemistry or pharmaceutical testing. After some short back and forth, they reached an agreement. Without wasting time, Lu Sheng rented a workspace and quickly began setting up the materials based on his memory from the AI archive. He carefully followed each step, reconstructing ingredients and chemical ratios used in future medicine with the limited tools of the present. Bottles clinked, powders mixed, and the aroma of herbs filled the air. After several tries and adjustments, Lu Sheng finally held a vial containing a murky, light blue liquid, his first prototype. With a steady breath, he took the concoction. At first, nothing happened. His body felt the same. He frowned slightly, wondering if he had made a mistake. But then, an intense surge had hit him, like a tidal wave rushing through his veins. Pulsing through his bones, his vision swam. His knees nearly buckled. Sweat poured from his temples as his body tried to recalibrate to the sudden influx of energy. The sensation was overwhelming, so potent that he almost blacked out on the spot. He grabbed the table for support, heart pounding like thunder. Just then, the young man who had been ignoring him earlier rushed over in a panic. His phone now forgotten, he looked nervous, terrified. Even in a hushed tone, he warned Lu Sheng that he had to leave immediately. The reason? The boss lady was on her way. Apparently, the real owner of the lab, his mother, had returned, and she was strict beyond reason, terrified of getting scolded for allowing an unsupervised visitor to use the lab. The boy begged Lu Sheng to pack up and go. Still lightheaded from the effects of the prototype, Lu Sheng agreed. He grabbed his notes, secured the remaining materials, and exited the back door just moments before a sleek black car pulled up outside. From the passenger side, the door opened. A woman stepped out, tall, graceful, and elegant, with short hair and sharp eyes. Her figure was slender and poised, exuding confidence and control. She closed the car door with practiced ease and walked toward the entrance, unaware that just moments before, someone inside had glimpsed the future of medicine. After Lu Sheng had left the laboratory, barely recovering from the overwhelming effects of his own future-based concoction, .com returned to the quiet space, but only briefly. Moments later, the true owner of the lab arrived. Hisusu, the young woman who had just stepped out of the elegant black car, walked into her family-owned facility with a tense expression. Her heels echoed against the tile floor as she entered the main chamber and sighed heavily. She wasn't in the best mood. Despite inheriting the lab from her father, Hisusu was deeply aware of her own limitations. She had yet to create a truly impressive or breakthrough medicinal formula. The pressure to succeed was mounting not only from the weight of the lab's legacy, but from her father's high expectations. To her, it all felt premature. Her skills were still growing. Her knowledge was solid, but not groundbreaking. And in quiet moments, she wondered if she was really cut out for this path. She had even been seriously considering quitting and accepting an offer from a more established pharmacy, one headed by none other than Mr. Zhang, a man she once trained under briefly. At least there, she could contribute in peace, away from the pressure of ownership. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. When Hisusu returned to her private lab space and opened the door, her expression twisted into frustration. The room was in disarray. Someone had clearly used it in her absence. The equipment had been shifted, glassware used, and strange, unfamiliar compounds had been mixed. She stormed out and scolded the assistant, Ma Fei, with visible fury. Her words were sharp and unforgiving. He stood still, eyes wide, as she unleashed her frustration. After all, this wasn't the first time he had slacked off but letting a stranger in. Unforgivable. Ma Fei tried to explain, but his stammering only made it worse. Hisusu, still fuming, marched back into the lab with the intent of cleaning it out herself. She picked up the leftover vials, some half-filled, some nearly empty. Her hand hovered over one particularly murky sample. Something about it felt off. Out of curiosity, on some professional instinct, she dipped her finger into a small amount and tasted it. The effect was almost immediate. Her pupils dilated. A powerful sensation coursed through her body, a clean, intense wave of vitality. She stood frozen, stunned, as her mind tried to comprehend what just happened. Her body's reaction told her everything she needed to know. This wasn't amateur work. What had just passed her lips was not a failed experiment or reckless mixture. It was a prototype medicine of astounding quality. It surpassed anything she had seen, perhaps even more advanced than anything currently being produced on the market. For a moment, she was speechless. Outside, Ma Fei was still sulking from his scolding. Muttering under his breath, he cursed Lu Sheng's name, calling him a jinx, a walking headache who brought nothing but trouble. But before he could finish his grumbling, he heard the door slam open again. Hisusu had come out at full speed, her face flushed with urgency. She called out to him loudly, startling him. Ma Fei turned, hearing his name shouted in a way he hadn't expected. Her tone was sharp but not angry. Desperate maybe, but to him, it felt different. Something in her voice made his heart skip, and for a split second, he misinterpreted her urgency. He thought maybe she had changed her mind about him, that maybe her scolding had been a test of loyalty. Maybe she had seen his value after all. As she ran toward him, he smiled awkwardly, ready to say something poetic and foolish. But her words crushed his fantasy. She grabbed him by the sleeve and demanded that he call the person who had used the lab earlier, immediately. Still flustered, Ma Fei nodded and fumbled for his phone. Back at his home, Lu Sheng was fully immersed in training. The new strength coursing through his body from the medicine had amplified his senses and discipline. His strikes were sharper, his focus tighter. He was learning to control this evolving power one breath at a time. Suddenly, his phone rang, expecting a call from school or maybe Instructor Zheng. He didn't check the ID before answering. To his surprise, the voice on the other end was unfamiliar and female. She introduced herself directly and with authority. "My name is Hisusu. I'm the head of Shingsantang Laboratory." Her tone was calm but commanding. She requested a formal meeting with him in 1 week to discuss the formula and his intentions. It was a short call, professional, not overly polite. Lu Sheng barely had time to respond before the line disconnected. Meanwhile, Ma Fei, now back beside her, nervously awaited her next orders. She turned to him and asked about the boy who had made the medicine. She wanted to know more: his name, his background, his lab license. To her shock, Ma Fei could only mutter awkwardly, "He's just some student. Actually, not even from university. He's my age. Just a little younger, maybe."
What?
Hisusu froze, processing his words. She had assumed that someone capable of creating such a powerful prototype would be an expert, perhaps a rogue researcher or an ex-pharmacist. But the truth was more surprising. The one who had created that formula was nothing more than a teenage boy, a self-taught fighter, a student with mysterious knowledge, far beyond his years. And she suddenly realized this might be the start of something much, much bigger. That night, in the world between sleep and reality, Lu Sheng once again entered the mysterious realm of his subconscious, a battlefield forged from the echoes of an ancient, advanced civilization. This time, however, the opponent that awaited him was no mindless zombie or wandering shade. Standing before him was a formidable warrior, exuding a pressure that suggested he had once been a stage 4 martial artist before death claimed him. The clash between them was intense. Every exchange of fists shook the air like thunderclaps. Every strike matched with flawless counters. Lu Sheng, still adapting to the overwhelming strength within him, was pushed to his limit. But rather than panic, he adapted. Every second of the fight honed his instincts sharper. Muscle memory from thousands of years of martial techniques engraved in this realm fused with his own determination. Eventually, after a brutal and exhausting battle, Lu Sheng emerged victorious, bloodied, panting, but undeniably stronger. When he awoke, his body ached, but he could feel the tangible improvement. The pulse of qi in his veins was heavier, deeper. He was evolving. The next morning he made his way to the martial arts hall. The air inside was cool and sharp with the scent of sweat, disinfectant, and steel. Walking calmly to the front desk, he greeted the receptionist with casual ease. "Could I use one of the test rooms?" he asked, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. The receptionist glanced up, recognizing him. With a joking tone, he teased, "Back again. Don't break the machines this time." After some light-hearted banter, Lu Sheng was assigned a private test chamber. Inside, the familiar equipment hummed softly under fluorescent lighting. He approached the key meter first and placed his hand on the scanning stone. The screen blinked rapidly, and then the number appeared: 15.6. He exhaled, slowly, pride swelling in his chest. It was an enormous leap from his last measurement, nearly inconceivable for someone of his age. He turned next to the strength testing pillar, a reinforced device that measured the force behind one's punches. He clenched his fists, grounded his stance, and delivered a clean strike. Bang! The meter surged, stopping at 3,137. Even Lu Sheng was stunned for a moment. He stared at the numbers, breathing heavily. But something within him whispered that this wasn't even close to his full strength. Not yet. He reset his stance, and this time summoned more than just strength. He gathered his ki, layered it with his fighting spirit, and unleashed a punch with genuine intent. The air around his body shimmered faintly, his aura blooming like a silent explosion. The scene abruptly shifted moments later. Lu Sheng was seen exiting the test room, expression unreadable, but eyes filled with quiet intensity. The receptionist greeted him again, and they shared a few casual words. Nothing in his demeanor betrayed what had just happened inside. At the same time, another group entered the hall. Nishwang, daughter of the influential director of the Hongchuan group, stepped through the entrance with effortless grace. Dressed sharply, she walked with a calm composure that turned heads. Behind her, Lanner, her younger sister, trailed along. Lanner, far less restrained, wore the arrogance of a child, born to power. She was proud, outspoken, and not afraid to let people know she came from wealth. Though she deeply admired her older sister, their relationship was often marked by playful violence. Shuang wasn't shy about disciplining her when she stepped out of line. As they passed the lobby, Lanner's eyes wandered. She caught a glimpse of a young man leaving one of the test rooms. "That guy? I want to see his results," she murmured with curiosity. Nishwang, mildly entertained, approached the receptionist and casually inquired about the last person who used the test room. Her tone was light, but her curiosity genuine. The receptionist, still smiling, handed her a tablet and said, "Actually, only one person used the test room today. These are his results." Nishwang glanced at the screen. Her calm expression suddenly froze. Her eyes scanned the numbers again. Only one person. She instinctively looked toward the young man who had just walked out, Lu Sheng, though neither of them knew the other's name yet. In that moment, she realized she had just brushed past someone extraordinary. Someone who, just like her, stood at the very edge of the current era's limits, and maybe even beyond.